The Dillen Doll, Chapter 2, Bread for Me and Mine. King George was a dozen years into a long and eventful reign when the Coxons left a shabby hovel in Deptford on the River Wear to move the 10 long miles north to the River Tyne. Wilfred Coxon had been a PD lad on the Wearside keel, but was a skilled oarsman who knew the narrow river like a lover by the time he saw fit to find a wife. He took the woman, known to all as Blank, when they were both 26 years of age, and there were 2 daughters in the first 2 years of marriage. Wilfred was a good man, strong as an ox, and had worked hard through 6 winters when Blank showed signs of a 3rd child, another daughter who was born in midsummer, at a time when work was plentiful and long in hours. When he finally returned to the family home 2 days after the birth, Blank was sitting wordlessly scraping beets by the window, and the new baby lay greeting in harsh swaddling in the opposite corner. It was small and lay at a tilt, one arm stretched out in hunger, but the other almost still at its side. His father-in-law, George Blenkinsop, a godly man of stern disposition, had never set foot in the house before, but there he was, bowed over a crooked walking stick, similarly unspeaking and breathless, from the steep climb up the gunwale to their door. It was the old man who had given the helpless child a name. "You've not got long to get a baptism," he eventually proclaimed, looking down on the bairn from the middle of the room. "A Dillen like that, it's not fit to last till the morning. She's not feeding it. Get hold of a pastor and get it christened. I don't want any blood of mine suffering in a limbo of your making." He moved forward, stick raised, and extended towards the infant like some ghastly withered tongue. He gingerly flicked back the wrappings with a look of disgust on his crinkled face. Wilfred despised the old man. He pushed past him and gathered the child up in his huge hands. The wailing ceased. The tiny face turned to the father's, lit by the slit of light from the open door. A tiny hand gripped the gnarled, coal-dusted finger. "2 of them we lost," the old man was saying, almost in triumph. "I know the signs. Man, a heifer would know the signs with that. Get a pastor, get it christened. You'll need a name. Her mother's name, Dolitha. She'll not use it long." He turned towards the door. "And keep your hands off her," he cackled, gesturing behind him with the handle of the stick towards his own daughter, still wreathed in silence. 18 days later, she was gone. Not the fragile child, blessed with the mother's name by holy oil and pump water. It was the mother, Blank, the first Dolitha, who had pushed the mite into the startled arms of a middle daughter, Rose, and with a whimper of what might mean goodbye, swayed unsteadily out of the crumbling doorway and into the afternoon sunlight, and away forever. Wilfred had been home by 10 that night to find Rose asleep on the floor, and Bertha, the eldest, clinging to the baby, singing the same dandling song that he himself had sung to her when marriage had seemed like a blessing and a child a completeness. He'd spent a day and a night searching the streets. A trader in the Blue House in Hendon had told him of a simple woman, by his account, drifting through high grass atop the nearby cliffs. But a cautious search of the beach below had presented nothing. He'd searched again a week later when work was slack and stormy seas had prevented the colliers from coming into port, but by then his elder daughters had stopped asking questions and the back streets gossips had turned their attention elsewhere. Little Runty, he'd called her, though fondly, as she'd persevered through an infancy and beyond, to be distinctive by the slight hunch above a weak left arm and a slight cast in the eye on the same side, most pronounced with the tiredness at day's end. What brought more remark to her infirmity was the beauty of her elder sisters as they approached womanhood. Rose was dark with cheeks to match her name, and Bertha was flame-haired and vivacious. Dolly relished their company and loved her role as Cupid's messenger for the local lads, all of whom treated her with bemused fondness in their clumsy attempts at wooing her elder siblings. When Rose announced her stubborn intention to accompany a Scotch tinker back across the border to set up home in Dalkeith, Wilfred feigned outrage and disdain, while in truth felt relief at being unburdened of the need to support a growing horde of unwieldy womenfolk. Dolly was distraught at Rose's departure, and drew even closer to Bertha in the weeks after. A chance meeting with a brig rudderman in a dowdy pub called the King's Arms, situated high above the oldest Weir Bridge, convinced Wilfred that more money and better conditions were to be found on the banks of the Tyne. There the keelmen were treated like royalty, he was told, not with the customary Wearside scorn, and the hold on the coal trade by the all-powerful Newcastle horsemen meant more security and long-lasting opportunities for men like Wilfred, skilled in the handling of the wide, shallow-drafted keelboats. Wilfred set out for Newcastle, alone, in the early April of Dolly's 11th year, full of certainty that a new and better life lay ahead for all of them. Dolly and Bertha waited for a week before following him, unbidden, but spurred on by worry and lack of money. It was evening when they reached the windmill hills of Gateshead and looked down in wonder across the broad river to the walls, spires and twisting terraces of Newcastle, its stern grey keep watching majestically over a dockside frontage lathered with the sails and rigging of a bewildering throng of vessels of all shapes and sizes. Bertha wisely chose to shelter for the night in a tanner's hut to the west, away from the bustling North Road, and the pair set off across the busy wooden bridge as the bells of St. Nicholas were pealing in next day's dawn. Visits downriver from Deptford to Sunderland had been rare and mostly unnecessary for the young girls, so to suddenly find themselves in the bustling madness of a strange city was all but overwhelming. For an hour they stood together, arms locked against the wall of the mighty Guildhall, as a rat's nest of commotion, noise and turmoil swirled around them. Sailors, doxies, merchants of all sizes and colours, angry tradesmen, simple bewildered folk, strong women and bewigged men, all marching with a purpose from alleyways and entries to destinations high above the dockside, where steeples pointed heavenwards and tall buildings leaned as if dizzy, split apart by steep stairways and gushing spigots. A dead horse was being hauled away from the road in front of a timbered drinking house opposite them, and a large crowd had gathered to offer criticism and advice. The language was thick and fast, the accent dark and strong. It was another world. Before long there was music, the simple strings of a box fiddle and a short-tongued lisping voice, all seemingly coming from the middle of the broiling crowd of onlookers. "Buy broom besoms, buy them when they're new," it sang. "Fine heather Bretons better never grew." For Dolly it was like the summer sun coming out. She stepped forward, drawn by the melody, oblivious to what a moment ago had seemed like a cauldron of insanity. Bertha grabbed her limp arm. "Dolly," she hissed, "hold on now, where are you off to?" "Just to hear the man," she said. "I can't say where he's at."